Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to Dazza, and I have another bracket fight today, and I really enjoyed doing this one last week with the Doctor Who companion. So I'm going to do a different one this week, and this is the best movie franchises, which I know I prefer movies over TV series and things like that. And when it comes to franchises, there's going to be a few shockers in here because there's some franchises that I've never watched and there's going to be other franchises that I've watched a lot of, but I'm not going to go based on just that. And the first one here is a prime example that obviously the first one is the Planet of the Apes franchise, and then it's going up against the X-Men. I've watched some of the Planet of the Apes movies, and I like them. They're not too bad. I've never ever sat and watched an X-Men movie. Never ever watched one. The only thing I've seen with X-Men is when they featured some of them in Deadpool. I never watched like the Wolverine movies or anything. So it's interesting because I've seen a lot of one, but I can't go against the X-Men franchise because I know how massive it is and I know how incredible the franchise is. And it probably is one franchise that at one point I will get around to watching, but I don't think the Planet of the Apes was that good to actually beat them, like in theory. So like for the first one, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, a lot of these franchises I've seen anyway, so I'm going to be able to give more of an opinion on it. But for this one, I'm just going to go based on like how massively popular it is. That I'm going to say X-Men over Planet of the Apes for the first one. This one, Transformers versus Shrek. This is going to be a split decision for a lot of people, but for me, one of my favorite franchises of all time is the Shrek movies. I never really watched like the Puss in Boots or anything that came with it, like they done like the Spooky Tales and everything. But the Shrek movies 1 to 4 that they done, I think they're making a number 5 as well. That obviously as the franchise went on, they wasn't as good as the first one. You can't beat the first Shrek. And for me, I still believe that if Eddie Murphy wasn't in the Shrek movies, they wouldn't have been as successful as they were. I think Eddie Murphy makes the movies as good as Mike Myers and like Cameron Diaz and everyone else is in the movies. I just think Eddie Murphy is the I was about to swear, then I won't. I just think he's the GOAT in all of these movies. That he's just brilliant. So for me, it has to be the Shrek franchise. Okay, so this is another one. I have never ever watched the Lord of the Rings movie, and people keep slating me saying like, "You need to watch it. You need to watch it." I didn't watch the Hobbit movie. I've not watched the Lord of the Rings. I've seen a lot of Marvel. That I know what the Lord of the Rings is about. That, but it's not my kind of movie in that sense. But I love a superhero movie, and I've seen like I used to love like as a kid I used to love the Incredible Hulk and the Iron Man and that came later, but even down to like Guardians of the Galaxy. I only watched the first like I watched the first Guardians of the Galaxy would have been about a year ago. I watched the first one and then I watched the second one and the third, and I just love all of them. I've never watched the Captain America movie or Thor movie, so I need to get round to watching them. But obviously, Iron Man, Spider Man, and all of them, it has to be the Marvel franchise. Okay, so I think this is one that's going to be another split decision. I was never really into Star Trek. My dad loved Star Trek, especially growing up. He used to watch it all the time, but it was one of them programs that whenever it came on, it was just like, why? Why are you watching it? And it ain't even sci-fi. I love sci-fi. Like I'm a massive Doctor Who fan and things like that. But yeah, I just never really got into the the Star Trek franchise. But I really enjoyed the Matrix franchise. That like all of the Matrix movies I really did enjoy. And I think that's the same like as the Shrek one. I really enjoyed the first one, and it goes downhill. Like with most franchises, it goes downhill as time goes on. But yeah, for me as a personal preference, I need to go for the Matrix on this one. Ah, see, this. Now it gets tough. Now it gets tough. Both of these are like childhood. Like this is nostalgia, just completely. Die Hard. By the way, it's not a Christmas movie, but Die Hard versus Rocky. The the only reason why I'm going to choose this franchise is because this is the one that if I want to binge watch a franchise, I'm always going to go for this. And for me, This one, it has to go to Rocky. I've if I'm not feeling well and I'm laying in bed and things like that, and I think that I want to watch something, that it's always going to be going to Rocky, the Rocky movies. It has to be. I love Die Hard. I really do love Die Hard, but it has to be the Rocky movies. This is one. Okay, so that's obviously it's Clint Eastwood, yeah. But what franchise is that? It's just I don't know the franchise. I believe it's Clint Eastwood, and I want to say that the film is The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, but or Unforgiven. I might be wrong with that. I don't know, but again with this, I'm just going to go personal preference. I've seen a lot of like Western movies and things like that, and I don't mind them, but I really did enjoy the Men in Black franchise, even down up to like Men in Black 3. That I really did enjoy them, so I'm going to pick Men in Black in this, just because I don't really know what the other one is that much. Oh, Fast and the Furious. What are we on now? 28? That again, I don't really know what the other franchise is on the other side. Like, I see Harrison Ford, but the only if I think Harrison Ford, I just think Indiana Jones. I don't think anything else other than Indiana Jones. But I'm a big fan of the Fast and the Furious franchise. I think the first couple of them were brilliant. The storylines were brilliant up until like Tokyo Drift. The only thing I didn't really like about the Fast and the Furious was it come to a point where it got too over the top. That what was the one in Dubai when he was driving a car from one building, went through the windows and out of the other building? For me, that's just too OTT. Like the storylines at the beginning, like with the cop going against the family and like joining the racing crews, and that was so good. That was so much more realistic. But yeah, it became very very unrealistic. And even the spin-off that they done, like Hobbs and Shaw, I really enjoyed that one as well. Again, a bit over the top at times, but yeah, it has to be the Fast and the Furious franchise. It's so windy. Okay, so this for me is going to be a lot like the first one. Pirates of the Caribbean. I really, really enjoyed the first one or two movies when it was Johnny Depp and um, Keira Knightley, and then there was the other guy in it. I can't remember his name, but I really enjoyed them. But I think this is something as well where they made far too many of them. I've never sat and watched a Harry Potter movie from beginning to end. I've seen bits and pieces. They get in the UK, they get played a lot on like ITV and things like that. So there's been times where I might have put it on and caught like the last half an hour and things like that. But it's always like one of them that I sit and watch and think I do need to sit and watch this movie in its entirety. And I think for me, like my daughter's in school now, and a lot of her friends are getting into Harry Potter and like with the backpacks and everything. And so she's saying that she wants to watch Harry Potter. So I think this is going to be something that I'm going to sit down and watch like the whole franchise with my daughter. My wife's seen them all. My wife loves them. Like my stepson's read all the books in that. So for me, I'm gonna pick Harry Potter based on what I've seen so far. Like I said, I enjoyed Pirates of the Caribbean, but I don't know. Given the choice, I'm not probably not gonna go back to watch the movies. Okay, so now we're going back to the beginning. So for me, like I said, I've never watched the X Men movie. I will get round to doing it, but for me, this is Shrek all day long. That I love the Shrek franchise. I really do. I actually know the Shrek movie word for word in English and in Finnish. Here's a funny story quickly. When I lived in Finland, I was going to college to learn the language, and it was so tough. I didn't pick none of it up at all. And during the summer holidays, my stepdaughter, I took her to the library to rent out some DVDs, and she picked up Shrek, and it was in Finnish. And at the time, she didn't speak English. She only spoke Finnish. So it wouldn't have been fair to let her sit and watch it in English. So I sat and watched it in Finnish. And she loved the movie that she would watch it 4 or 5 times a day. And that's how I learned Finnish. Because I knew it word for word in English, I picked it all up in Finnish. So now I know Shrek word for word in English and in Finnish. So yeah, that's the interesting fact. But yeah, Shrek all day long. Again, with this, I like the Matrix franchise, but it's not going to beat the Avengers, Iron Man, Hulk, um, everything else in it, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not going to beat it. That I watched a superhero movie. I'm sure it would have been part of this. It was the guy from Kim's Convenience, the Nine Rings of something. I can't remember if that was Marvel or DC, but that was incredible. But for this one, it's going to be Marvel all day long for me. But yeah. And again, this one, I really like the Men in Black franchise. That I think Will Smith's brilliant in it, as well as like Tommy Lee Jones. And I enjoyed the second and the third one as well. But it can't beat Rocky. It can't beat the Rocky series. Fast and the Furious. I've seen. most of the Fast and the Furious movies. I think it's just the latest one that I haven't seen, or maybe the last two. And again, with Harry Potter, I've seen snippets of each movie that I will get round to watching it. But I think for this one, I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed with it. But I think for this one, I need to go based on what I know, and I know more of the Fast and the Furious. Obviously, I know the concept of the Harry Potter films and what they're all about and things like that. But I think after watching all of them, then I may get. I've actually just seen above the other Fast and the Furious on the first round. It went up against Blade Runner. I've just seen the picture above that. I would never have guessed that in a million years. But yeah, for this one, I don't know. I don't think either of these are going to win on this side anyway. So I'm going to go Fast and the Furious just because I've seen more of them. Oh, see now this is a tough one. The Shrek franchise up against Marvel. See, I think it's kind of like an unfair like advantage for Marvel because they got so many different characters that produce so many different movies. Whereas with Shrek, it was just like Shrek and the Puss in Boots ones and things like that. They never really went away. Like Donkey never had his own movie and things like that. That I honestly one of my favorite franchises of all time is Shrek. But the issue with Shrek is I love the first one. The second one was good. The third one was okay. The fourth one was like you're stretching it a bit. And I think if they're making a number five, it's been so long now that they probably will make it good. But I just think there's so many like brilliant movies from Marvel, and there's still so more to come. And like Spider-Man's not even in this picture on Marvel, which is like quite incredible. But yeah, I hate to do this. I really do. I hate to do it. It has to be Marvel. It has to be. But I can't push the button. Oh, what would Donkey do? Shrek. I can't go against it. I really can't. Okay, so Rocky versus the Fast and the Furious. That for me, again, that like if I'm thinking of any franchise that I want to go and watch from beginning to end, it's always going to be Rocky. The Fast and the Furious, I'm going to go for the one and two and maybe Tokyo Drift, but I'm not going to sit and watch all 10 of them as a binge watch. But Rocky, I would, and even down to the two Creed movies, I'd include them as well. So yeah, for me, Rocky. I keep forgetting that once I made these choices, I've got to then go and pick between the two harder ones. Um, See, for me, the Avengers ones, like the Marvel one, was tough. But this one, for me, is I don't know. This is not really that tough because again, like I love like Shrek one, but if someone said to me, you can watch Shrek 1 for as much as you want, but you can't watch the others, I'm like, all right. But then I think, like, with Rocky, he fought, like, Apollo Creed, then he fought Mr. T, and even, like, Hulk Hogan and the big Russian guy, I can't remember his name. And, it has to be the Rocky franchise for this. I have to go. I know it's going against Shrek, but it has to, I've clicked it. I've clicked it. It has to be the Rocky franchise. Okay, so this one, we got to the other side now. This one is personal preference. Is Jack Ryan really a franchise that Mission Impossible is? Think they made what 8 or 9 of them. That I've watched one Mission Impossible movie, and that was the original one. I've never watched any after that. And with Jack Ryan, I watched the first season. I really enjoyed it. It was good, but I don't know. In terms of like, I think for this, Jack Ryan is just a TV show. Unless they're going for like a Tom Clancy franchise, I don't know. But for this, it has to be Mission Impossible. As good as Jack Ryan is, but it has to be Mission Impossible. What the hell is this one on the other side? I have no idea what that is. The other one I'm presuming is James Bond. But I have no idea what the other side is. You could give me a million guesses and the car looks like Back to the Bloody Future. What the hell is that? I have no idea. So I'm just going to pick. I'm presuming this is James Bond, so I'm just going to go with it. I have no idea what that is. If it's Back to the Future, I'm going to be pissed because, like, I love Back to the Future. Right. So, Indiana Jones versus Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. They're kind of like when it. But I don't know. Indiana Jones. There's a lot of flaws in the Indiana Jones movies. That, like, and that's not just what I picked up from The Big Bang Theory. But I don't know. I think for this one, Jurassic Park is good, but I think you have to go Indiana Jones. I love them kind of movies anyway. Easy, easy. The Alien movies are good. They're okay, but as a franchise, Toy Story, that hands down. Not. I don't even have to think about it. Right. So this is another one, like the first one that I've done with the X-Men. Ocean's 11, I've never watched. I know they've done Ocean's 11. Was it Ocean's 12? Maybe 13? I don't know. But I've never ever watched a Star Wars movie. My Star Wars knowledge is based only on the episodes of Family Guy that I've watched. That's all I know about Star Wars. I've never watched it. But as a franchise, having to pick between these two, I couldn't really tell you about Ocean's 11 that much either. It has to be Star Wars. That Terminator versus Hannibal Lecter. Terminator, really? That it has to be, doesn't it? Really? That you can't. Is that Hannibal Lecter? I don't think it is. I don't. If it's not, I don't know who it is. I'm gonna go Terminator. Just I don't know. Okay, so we got this Mission Impossible James Bond. I've never actually watched a James Bond movie either. It's a lot like the Harry Potter one where I've watched snippets of the movies, but I've never actually sat and watched one the whole way through. Mission Impossible I have, but I'm not going to go to. I'd have to go if given the choice. If someone said to me I had to sit and watch the Mission Impossible movies or the James Bond movies, I'm probably going to go James Bond. Oh, this is a tough one. That it's a tough one, but I've already made my decision based on this. That Indiana Jones is one of them. Like he's making one now, but you think to yourself that like, why? That like you're too old to be making these Indiana Jones movies. But with the Toy Story ones, even though it's animated and it's a lot like it doesn't matter what age you are, I just think the storylines just keep getting better and better with them. I don't think they're making any more now after Toy Story 3, but I'm an animated movie like fanatic. I love animated movies, I really do. And for this one, I have to go Toy Story over Indiana Jones. Okay, so this for me is I've seen all of the Terminator movies and I really do like them. And I've never watched a Star Wars movie. So for this, I have to just go based on what I know. A lot of people are not going to agree with this because they might be Star Wars fans or not even Star Wars fans, but they've seen both franchises. But for me, because I've never watched a Star Wars movie, I have to go Terminator on this one. Si- This is going to be a tough one for a lot of people, but for me, this is easy. I like I said before, I love a superhero movie, so it's good that like both of them have come into this side. I love a superhero movie. My two favorite superheroes are Superman and The Flash. They have been since I was a kid. But for this one, given the choice between watching a Spider-Man movie and a Batman movie, my choice will always be Spider-Man. And again, this for me, I've never watched a James Bond movie, but I've seen everything Toy Story. So this is not really that hard for me. So I'm going to go Toy Story over James Bond. Again, a lot of people are not going to agree with that, but that's me. That's just what I'm going for. And again, this is not really. This side's a lot easier than the other side was, to be fair. Between Terminator and Spider Man, I'm going to go Spider Man all day long. Given the choice to sit and watch the franchises, it's going to be Spider Man. Okay, this one's a little bit tougher. um, I don't. Again, I've like given the choice that if I'm with my daughter and she's like, "Oh, let's watch something," I'm gonna pick something like Toy Story. But if I watch movies mainly when I'm laid up in bed sick. Like if I'd rather come out and do recordings and things like that rather than sit and watch a movie. So, like, if I'm sick in bed and I'm thinking, let me watch, I'm gonna go Spider Man. Oh, yeah, with a final now. But see, both of these that I've sat and watched, I've been sick at the point where like I've been laid up in bed all day. Not many times. Once when I was living in Finland, I was laid up in bed. I had a sinus infection and it was really bad. And I sat and watched the Rocky movies, and obviously they never made the sinus infection go away, but they made me feel so much better, like divulging into the storylines of all of them. And I sat and watched all of them in one go, not the Creed movies, just the Rocky movies. And I done it once before when I was living with my parents. Like after Finland, I wasn't well. I can't remember what was wrong then. I don't think it's not, I wasn't well. I think I had an hernia operation, and I was told that I had to rest because for my first one, I don't know if you guys remember Trocadero in Piccadilly Circus, but I had a hernia operation when I was 14, 15. And the next day I went to Trocadero and I was on the bumper cars and things like that, and probably wasn't the best thing to do. And then when I had my second one, I got told that I had to rest. So I think I spent the day after that, watching the Spider-Man movies. And it was good, but the Rocky movies actually made me feel better, like mentally as well. For me, out of this list for everything on there, I would have to go Rocky. So if you look at it as a movie franchise, my favourite, the Rocky franchise. But there's others on there, like Back to the Future wasn't on here, that I probably would have gone Back to the Future. I really love the Back to the Future franchise. But yeah, there's a few other franchises that wasn't on here. But it was a good list. I enjoyed it. But yeah, that's not a bad one as well. I'm surprised that, like, when I first saw it, I was surprised that Shrek didn't make it to the final. But it got to the semis. It's good enough. It's good enough. But yeah, this was a good one. I enjoyed this. The next one that I want to do, there's two brackets that I want to do. So I want to do the Eminem bracket. Eminem's one of my favourite artists, so I know the majority of his songs. So there's a bracket of Eminem songs that I want to do. And then the other one is a superhero bracket. So picking favourite superheroes, which I think will be really interesting as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing this one as well. Let me know what you think. If you got this far in the video, let me know what you think. And let me know if you agree with this bracket and if you would have ended up with Rocky. I've got a feeling that the majority wouldn't have ended up with Rocky as their favourite. And I'm actually looking now and thinking, like, the Marvel one. If I would have picked that over Shrek, then I think Marvel may have won this as well. I don't know. It would have been interesting if Marvel and Spider-Man would have ended up in the final, considering that Spider-Man is part of Marvel. But yeah, this was a good one. I enjoyed this. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if Rocky would have made it to the final. If not, who you would have had as your winner in this bracket. But thank you all for tuning in. Take it easy. Have a nice day. Stay safe. Be kind. And I will see you in the next one.